Hey, George, how are you?
Daniel Linhart, always good to see your face on a. Oh, hey, you know what? I'm just accidentally there. YouTube channel and it just
Like, I
started
hear
playing.
someone.
Cursed in the background.
That's right.
Um, how are you?
I am well. I've
Did
had
you
a
have a?
good, go ahead, what?
I was going to say, did you have a good Easter weekend?
We did. It was obviously different.
Mm-hmm.
It's an Easter I've never experienced before, but it was
Yeah,
really good.
I've never
Um,
participated in Easter in my PJs before.
I like it.
I did too.
I think I prefer it than the button down and tie or sports coat look.
Yeah, totally,
My
totally.
my kids definitely did. William, he does not like to get dressed up at all. And so he's like, this is the best Easter I've ever had.
That's awesome. That's awesome. It was
um,
special in some way, right? I mean,
it was totally, yeah. I mean, for the most part, good weather on Saturday. Sunday was a little iffy. We still did an Easter egg hunt in the morning. I was out, no joke. I was in my flannel pants Sunday morning
yes.
because I woke up a little late and I'm like, oh, and then I checked, the kids were still asleep. So I just like, I don't care. So I was in my slippers, my flannel pants, and a coat. And I just took our box of eggs out there and I was just like, boo, 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 tossing them around our yard. Ooh, a fence post, a tree,
Yeah,
mailbox. Yeah,
yeah. You don't have
but
a yard, so you got limited places where you can actually
it's
hide them.
true. It's true.
Our girls are old enough now where it's kind of just like, this is what you do, so can you go do it? They literally stuffed their own eggs the night before with candy and stuff, which was awesome, by the way. When your
Sure.
kids get to the age when they can stuff their own eggs, because that's the worst part, really, is sitting there just like getting those little plastic things to click back together. And
Mm-hmm.
so they went on a long walk. Jesse took them a long walk, and I threw them out because I knew that a massive storm was coming in within
Yeah.
the hour.
Yeah.
We had to get it done, and we got it done maybe 20 minutes before the rain hit, and it just downpoured and hailed, and it would have been brutal to be out there. Cute thing though, I put it on Instagram, was, I don't know if you saw it here. I don't know
The slug.
the slug. Oh my gosh, they were only out there for like 3 to 5 minutes. The
Right.
eggs.
We had one too.
Did you?
Yeah.
So good.
I
So
know.
good. Open up and you a jelly bean or a slug. Um,
Open up the
well, hey
egg.
man,
What do you find?
we are still remote. We're live streaming today, and yeah, we're still living the quarantine life. You
We
guys doing
are.
okay? Your family doing well?
Yeah, we are. We are trying to make sure that we get out and about. Schedule's key. So we try to stay on schedule as much as possible, Monday through Friday. And then Saturday's been nice. It's been a slower pace.
Yeah.
It's been a slower pace. And so we've gotten to slow down and I don't know, trying to keep myself busy. So just some projects, showed you some projects before we
Yeah.
started streaming of just stuff like, you walk around the house like, oh, I can make that look better. I
Right.
actually have the time to do that. So I'll just put on my mask and go to Lowe's
Yep.
and walk around, get my stuff, and check out. I tell you what, they are Lowe's. Did I go to Home Depot? No, but Lowe's is doing good. They actually, it's not taped. They painted with stencils different blocks of where you can be on the checkout.
Oh
They
yeah, yeah.
staggered everyone 6 feet. So like wait here and then wait here, wait here, wait here. And they've actually done a really good job. And I feel like they've done a good job making their customers feel safe because yeah, you walk in. I mean, there's not as many people as there would be
Oh sure.
normally in April, but it's like, wow, there's more people here than I expected, but a lot of people wearing masks and it's kind of weird.
So I think it's kind of a good segue, actually. Talking about, I think today you and I just want to maybe just do a little catch up.
Mm,
This is behind the scenes. We don't have a scripted conversation around any particular topic of, our disciplines, postures, and structures, or product teams, or whatever. We trying to do a lot right now at Crema, and so you and I needed to catch up anyways. So we
mm-hmm.
thought we'd give people maybe a little bit of a behind the scenes look at some of the things that we're working um, on a number of different to basically practice what we preach, which is that we're really trying to lean in right now. We're trying to think about how we get uncomfortable
Mm-hmm.
even more so in an situation, and lean
Right.
into what is the next version of Crema going to look like.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so there's a few things that we've been doing. Just to catch you up, last Thursday, I think it was. Yeah, it was right before the break because we took Friday off.
Mm.
Last Thursday we did a live, what would they call it? Product managers PM live happy hour,
Yeah.
cocktail hour,
Yeah.
happy cocktail. There was drinks. Everybody had drinks. It was great. But we invited in the local Kansas City community, mostly looking at people in product and technology, product managers that were, we just wanted to bring people together right now and say, I bet the way that you're doing work's a bit different. And it was cool. So in leaning in like this, we can talk about the mindset, right? Which is, yeah, make sure that you're trying to push things forward and that you're not getting stuck and you're kind of getting around stuff. But then also there's just the tools, the structures and the pieces that you have to use. And we were using Zoom. I know there's a whole backlash or whether or not you should use Zoom, security risks. Honestly, it's probably the most secure platform right now because they are addressing it so much. But anyways, we were using Zoom and we used their breakout rooms, which actually ended up really going cool. Probably had maybe 20-ish people there.
Yeah.
And just to see it immediately, like put people in rooms so you could have just conversations privately. That was
And it
just
works
cool.
really well.
Yeah.
It works really well.
Have you used the breakout rooms?
Yeah, I've used it once, and then you can go back to the main session, and it's super easy on how to do that.
I stayed in the main session with Brandon, and it was it's like when you used to go to live networking events and you have those people that stand at the door who never really get to participate in what's inside the event because they're at the door the whole time waiting to greet people that are coming in late and etc. And so it was like, I don't know what they're doing in there, but I bet it's fun. So go, here's your name tag, go on in,
Right.
It was weird to be just standing there talking to Brandon, having a drink, and then waiting for somebody to come in. But yeah, we're doing those webinars. We're going to be doing more of those. So that was product management. Our goal is to start dripping out more of those for each of the crafts, the craft teams. So that's going to be, I'm not sure who's next, but the designers want to do one. The developers are going to try to actually make their devs a live event. Oh, so cool. That'll be kind of neat. So that you can kind of get behind the scenes of the fact that we're already doing these craft chats. And then we can bring in the broader community to say, hey, participate with us, be part of a community of people that are still trying to do good work, even in the midst of everything going on.
Right. Because, and I'm sure a lot of communities are like this. Kansas City does a good job of having different meetups and different, cocktail or happy hours,
networking events,
lots, of different organizations. And so the fact that, that we're trying to do that, but there's a lot of other organizations in Kansas City trying to do that to maintain community, I think is a big deal. I think it'll pay dividends down the road just to make sure that people don't feel isolated.
Oh yeah.
Because it'll be easy to do that.
Well, and what I love about it is in our last episode, you and I talked about making kind of that list of people that, maybe last episode, the episode before, making that list of people that you want to stay connected with and building a community of support community around you during this time. And what's cool about this is that you may not know who you ought to be connected with or how to connect to those people, and joining a happy hour or a social event or a kind of a networking event like this virtually, you get to meet people that you've never met before.
Right.
Transparently, we have multiple agendas, right? Because we're also a business, we're trying to be innovative. We do want to rally people to a safe place to get together and talk about how they're doing their best work. But also we're looking to meet people that could potentially be leads for clients or referral for clients or, et cetera.
Right.
So I think for us as Crema, that's the creative work we have to do right now.
Yep.
Because the traditional ways of marketing and sales, you're not having coffee meetings. You're not taking someone out to lunch. So you have to think differently about how you bring people together to expose who Crema is, what we do, how we think, and why you should work with that.
Yeah, I know a lot of people, doing virtual coffees now. They're still inviting people to coffee. It's just like this. And then they each have their coffee and they get caught up.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And I
Have you
think
have you done that much yet?
I've had a couple different conversations just with individuals that are both friends, but also they're leaders and the top people in their
Yeah, yeah,
organization, in their own right. And it was one to get caught up, but two, just like asking some questions like how are they thinking differently?
yeah,
Because we know that we are trying to do that, but I feel like we get so much inspiration and such a launch pad when we talk to people of multiple different industries of, hey, what are you going to do differently now that we've been quarantined for 4 weeks or 6 weeks or 8 weeks, whatever it ends up being? Because there's going to be things that people are doing now that they want to keep doing and they're
yep,
going to like doing.
yep.
There's going to be new ways that people sell their products and services online when you can't be face to face. I mean, we've been doing that forever, but so many more companies are doing that now that probably didn't think they would have to, but now they're going to have to. And so, what are the changes they're making now that may have to stay when people
Yeah,
still go back to the office? So it's been really good. It's been encouraging. It's hey, how are your employees doing? How's your family doing? What are you doing to stay connected to your employees? What are you doing to stay connected to your clients? Are you having to do that differently? Meeting etiquette has changed.
for sure.
I think everybody enjoys well, not everybody. I think most people understand the goodness of when someone walks by your desk and is like, hey, can I run this by you? Or I want to brainstorm real quick.
Right.
How do you do that in a remote culture? You know,
I think that's
it's
the
more
thing I
difficult.
miss the most.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know, I'm an incredibly distracted human being, and that can be to its detriment. You know that because I think there's been some calls that, especially now, is I think my mind's searching for a distraction, so
Mm-hmm.
it finds it in like the most like weird, like squirrels outside of my tree. You know, like literally the distracted by a squirrel thing is totally me during important meetings.
But it can be
Yeah.
really good too.
Right, right. But I think the thing for me is like because I desire that little bit of distraction, that little eye contact across the room that says, "Hey, you want to jam on that?" Like we made
Right.
eye contact. It's much harder to recreate that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I'll be honest, I'm still learning how to do that.
Yeah.
Um,
Likewise.
um,
Meeting
in the best
scheduled
way.
meetings are easy,
Yeah,
for the most part.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
And they still stay just as productive in my opinion, but it's the quote unquote water cooler discussions.
Hmm. Uh, some some ways that what I'm trying to avoid is that every single meeting like that is a scheduled meeting
Yeah.
because then my calendar is completely full. I mean, there's been days where I've had 8.5 hours of back-to-back Zoom calls.
Right.
And that's just not, I mean, it's an effective day in the
It
sense
gets
that
long.
it gets so long. I'm not actually getting any productive work done.
Mm-hmm.
I'm getting decision-making work done, but not any productive work done. And for me right now, I feel like I'm in this stage where I really need to be creating.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's hard to create when you're just in meetings deciding,
Yeah.
right?
So what does that look like for you right now, George, as far as you feel like you need to be creating?
Yeah, I think you and I talked about this. I have this weird guilt right now. It's not guilt. I don't actually feel that guilty. I feel like I should feel guilty. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
That this terrible thing is happening in the world. Um, a lot of people are going through really, really, really hard time, and it is really, really hard for us as well, in our own way as business owners. But it's also given me this mission right now
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
to to think entrepreneurially, to jump in and start just finding really creative ways to change things up. And to me, it's made me really love the work that I'm doing right now.
Mm-hmm.
Which it was not that I wasn't loving it before the world collapsed,
Yeah.
but you know what I mean? It's just like giving me
Totally.
a mission. It's
Yeah.
giving me a thing to go after. So what some of the creative things that I'm actually doing, I'm helping speak into these webinars. We're working on our coaching services right now, really dialing those up into how we can serve people, both to help them to do remote collaborative
Mm-hmm.
product team work. We're helping people. I'm working on our framework, the mission,
Yep.
our Crema framework. We have to come up with a name for it. We still haven't named it, but the Crema framework, as it stands, working on articulating better what that is. What are some activities that help people actually go through it? Because we're doing it naturally. How do I think about, oh, interesting, I might want to give you a system to walk through it yourself,
Mm-hmm.
because you may not be organically doing it like we are. I've been shooting a lot more videos. So about twice a week, I sit down in front of the camera and try to tell a story, and just a little bit of how I'm thinking right now. It's a lot of riffing off of what you and I have been chatting about.
Mm-hmm.
But it's also helping me to create content for a larger narrative.
Yeah.
Um, and then I think some of the creative work is just stepping into those decision-making conversations.
Yep.
Um, so yeah, I think
Totally.
those are my things. What about you? What's been? I mean, you've been kind of opsing it up over the last couple weeks, but also
Well,
what are ways that you're getting innovative right now?
yeah. So real quick, there's I don't know if it's a metaphor or a way of explaining things. Maybe that is a metaphor, an analogy, of what you just said, of
Is it
which where I think.
parable? Maybe no. I don't know.
So there was a man walking down a road.
He had a coin.
He had a coin, and then he flipped it, and he wondered to
Yeah,
himself, "No,
and there was a donkey.
who started to speak?" So Peter Senge in his book Fifth Discipline talks about creative tension, and he
Mm,
talks about it in, how does he put it? In the view of vision. So you have where you're at right now, and then you have vision. And between those two spots, it's almost like you picture a rubber band. So
yeah.
you have vision where you're going, and then you have where you're at. You need that creative tension. It's almost like that startup kind of entrepreneurial uncertainty. There's obstacles to overcome.
Uh-huh.
There's like, I know what I need to do to get there, but it takes a lot of training and practice, and it's hard. But either way, that rubber band's going to snap some way. So if you want to get to your vision and you're here, you've got to use that creative tension to move you forward. However, if it's too hard, some people say, I'm going to give up. I too hard. And then what
It
happens is
snaps
that
back.
vision snaps back, and now you don't have any vision and you're just stuck in reality. And so I
Mm,
really like that. In this
it's a
moment, I feel
good.
like there is so much tension right now that we've all been thrust into, regardless of whether it's business, education, you name it. I mean, there's this
Yeah.
tension. But whatever your organization's vision is, how can you use this tension right now to get there? And I think that's why those that are more startup driven, that are starters,
Yeah.
entrepreneurial, are going to thrive. Individuals that are like me, I've been the opposite. I feel like I've been in crisis management, and I'm good in a crisis. And so this has been like, all right, here we go. I feel like I should have a board here. And I'm like, boom, 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 boom. Here we go.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, so I think this type of environment is good for those individuals that are either need to put out a whole bunch of fires, because you're thrust into it. It's like, oh yeah, I can handle this. But it's also really good, like you said, for the creative kind of energy moving you forward. And so, and I think that's where we've been trying to find the balance, right? You know, the
Yeah.
balance between, we got to stabilize, got to preserve the core. That's where we're putting out the fires.
Mm-hmm.
But then there's also, we got to look forward towards the vision and maybe figure out how to use this tension to propel us forward. And so, you know, we've been thinking a lot about that. You know, you mentioned coaching services, but we've been asking that question, you know, what can we do now? What can we tweak? You know,
Uh-huh.
what,
Yeah.
how do we take the dials, you know, just tweak it a little bit to the right of, we can still do the same thing, but it's
Mm,
just different. It's expressed different. So
yeah.
maybe let's, George, unpack a few of those. I mean, there's a laundry list, but I think we've kind of narrowed down to, you know, two or three that we're actually really excited about.
Yeah. So some of it's just tweaking language, right?
Hmm. Yeah,
So
which you wouldn't think language, but no, it's a big deal. It's
yeah.
a really big deal.
So for example, we for the last 8 to 10 years doing our kind of workflow with our client engagement looks like some level of a discussion or engagement where we're strategically working with the client through a set of workshops, facilitated activities to help them unpack their idea, or just help them clearly share their idea,
Hmm.
so that we get aligned, so that as we move forward into design and prototyping and building and architecting and releasing and supporting their products, their digital products, we we're all on the same wavelength. We're all in the
Mhm.
same brainwave. And then we do things to keep that consistent throughout. The thing that we're pivoting in some ways, the things that we've tweaked transparently, is instead of thinking about that as strategy services or like bestowing knowledge on someone about the
Mhm.
best way they should do it, we're really trying to step back and say, we really just want to come alongside you. We want to
Mhm.
be a guide. We want to be a coach with you. We do have some things that we've done that help you to do great work. And so we want to help you to do that great work. So the coaching services for us, it is language, both internally and externally, but it's not really new um, to the core of what Crema does. We've always been consulting. We've always been helping people through that, but we're trying to kind of productize it into something that we can maybe articulate a little bit better, and
Mhm.
even make it as something we can say, yes, use our coaches as someone to help you um, build your product with us. So if Crema
Mhm.
is going to build your product, but also maybe you have your own development team or your own design team or your own departments that do that. Let our coaches step in and help you to optimize those teams to help you to get unstuck and move things forward.
Mhm.
Uh, so yeah, that's one piece where we're kind of tweaking on that. Other things are we have been doing prototyping as a tool to help people envision their ideas and move their products forward, or maybe even sell their products forward
Mhm.
for, again, the greater part of 8 years, which really is just to say, let's design something out with design tools before you go build it with code
Mhm.
so that you can better envision what that product might be,
Mhm.
and then test it with potential users, upsell it to your bosses or to your investors, etc. And that's pretty well known in the product world is again, design prototyping. Well, we wanted to say, how do we help people earlier on to just envision purely the concept of their idea very quickly and be able to turn it around extremely fast? And so we have some incredibly fast designers. And so what
Mhm.
we started to do is kind of productize this idea, what we're calling product preview, which is a little less of a full stack service of having a full product team on something where you would go and design it and then test it and iterate on it and maybe workshop it in different ways. And instead, it's a very kind of clear cut. Here's what I'm envisioning very simply, and us turning around and saying, oh, do you mean
Mhm.
something like this? And almost handing them a design back. I mean, within a very short period of time, like within a couple of days.
Right. So it's a very
Um,
rapid, here's what not it necessarily it will look like, but it could look like, and it's they're high fidelity, and it's a really just it kind of goes to what you preach a lot, is like a lot of people don't know until they see it. It's like they don't really know what they like until they see it.
yeah, I think this is, I was pretty early on. I feel like as one of the guys that said, why are we doing gray boxes, which was wireframing?
Why? Yeah, wireframing.
And I thought that was such a waste of time because I would show it to potential customers, to potential users, to stakeholders, and they were like, yeah, I guess this is a cool layout. But they didn't understand. It was fine if I was communicating with the developer, because
Mm-hmm.
the developer could envision, oh, I understand that's going to be a flex box and that will work in a certain way. But a stakeholder never really got what that was.
Right.
We now have the tools to pixel perfect, almost looking designs in next to no time. And so we can do something that really helps people to envision the potential of what their product can be very quickly.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so yeah, we're leaning into things like that. The coaching services, the product preview. We're even looking at doing some functional, maybe low code, but framework driven functional prototyping.
Mm-hmm.
So that's when you say, okay, well, what if I could actually hold and use a real prototype of my product, which actually is um, like pre MVP, pre
Right.
minimum viable product, like just purely conceptually going, yeah, I kind of wanted to do something like this. Can you help me to see what that might be like? Well, then we could use some kind of off the shelf frameworks, some tools, or even maybe some low code platforms, which we haven't done much of. So don't hold us to that. We're not really a low code shop, but we're exploring those things because we want to push into how do we help people to move faster, test
Mm-hmm.
things, and innovate quicker.
Mm-hmm.
Um, which with our enterprise clients wasn't a necessity as much over the last few years. But now, if we're pivoting back into innovative, fast thinking,
Right.
people that are reacting to the new world, startups maybe,
Mhm.
then you have to give them a tool that can meet them at that speed that they need to move right now.
Mhm. Yeah.
So those are just a few of the new services um, that we're exploring. Still got a lot to learn. Again, they're not new for us. It's just how do we productize them? How do we package them in a way that the world understands why we're
Yeah.
doing it, what the value is to our audience.
Yeah, I think and in the world that we live in now, the remote, it's not enough just to have a laptop and be able to be remote. You have to be productive as
Yeah,
well.
yeah.
And I think one thing that we've been able to display through some remote design sprints that we've facilitated, as
Mm,
well as
yeah, good reminder.
just how we work with our clients in general, because a lot of the clients that we have, some of them will make it to the meeting, and others won't, not because they're not late, but just because they can't be there in person. They're calling in remote because they're a different part of the country.
Yep.
So we've had to work really hard to, how do we, if this is going to be a norm, which we believe it is, how do we create processes and how do we create processes and find the best tools to be productive in this moment? And so it's, again, we are thinking, how do we facilitate consulting sessions and trainings to help clients be productive, meaning the strategy sessions in the war room, quote, the war
Yeah.
room, the whatever conference room, whatever name you have there is, you're used to sticky notes and the whiteboard and markers and asking questions and throwing it out. Um, Sorry, call real quick. Throwing it out on the table real quick. Well, you can still do that remote. You can still have those really important ideation sessions remote, but
Yeah.
companies just don't know how to do it. And so we're thinking we can help people. We can help people be as productive as they were, even though they're not in the same room and they may not be writing on the same whiteboard.
And it takes, I think that what we found is it really takes having a really intentional experience facilitator.
Mm-hmm.
So what's nice about having a third party to manage those types of meetings and those types of conversations is having someone that says, I get it. I can empathize with the fact that this is uncomfortable for everybody right now.
Mm-hmm.
But what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to walk you through some things to get you more comfortable, to kind of
Mm-hmm.
break that ice, to then open up the potential of the creative conversations, the
Mm-hmm.
decision making um, kind of protocols, if you will, and move something forward. Because I think when you're doing it and you think, oh, I need to be the person that's pulling my team together to get them to all do this great work,
Mm-hmm.
it's really hard because you may be going, I mean, just like you and I trying to jump on this Zoom call, and
Right.
I'm thinking, is the live stream working? Is my stupid audio box over here buzzing? Will Larissa get the video file after this? And that's a lot to do while you're also doing it.
Right.
But when you have a facilitator, or when you have someone like Larissa who can step in and actually help us to record this while we're all doing it, um, you you allow yourself the kind of mental freedom to explore
Mm-hmm.
that innovative work that you really need to be focused on doing right now. Um, and I hope that's what our coaches and our facilitators can help people to do with remote design sprints, workshops with a remote facilitation, help people get unstuck.
Mm-hmm.
Because even more so, like if you talk to that band that you were talking about earlier,
Mm-hmm.
they may be just like, oh, it's just, there's too many hurdles to getting a meeting set up with
Right.
everybody. It's going to work. And then, oh, by the way, how am I going to share my screen and what tools am I going to use, et cetera, et cetera. And you just say, forget it. I'm going to let go. And it comes back to, we don't move forward.
Right.
And then you're stuck, and you're
Mm-hmm.
stuck in a world that looks like, a pandemic.
Right. Yeah. And you're hunkered in, and it's hard to work in that type of environment
Yeah.
for that long, because I think you just end up, it's like your head is doing this the whole time. I mean, you're looking at, here's a fire, here's a fire, here's a fire. And before you know it, you've worked on 100 different things and you haven't really accomplished anything, because you can't see that far ahead. And we feel like in order to be able to still have that vision to look down the road,
Yeah.
you need to do it with the people that you were doing it with. And so how can you make that happen? How can you use the tools that are available to you to still have those discussions that allow you to kind of like come up a little bit from the water, keep your head above
Yep.
water. It's so good to be able to have meetings where you just talk about, remind people of your mission.
Yeah.
This
Yeah.
is who
Yeah.
we are. This is where we're going. Um, let's actually just sit in that for a little bit and think strategically, you know?
Yeah, totally. I think one of the things that you and I have been really trying to is that exact thing, is reminding people that this is our purpose. Our why
Hmm.
has not changed.
Right.
And I think I put out a video, or maybe that video is going to go out soon, where it was basically just that. It was like, Crema's why not changed. We desire to use design, technology, and culture to help individuals and organizations, companies thrive, right?
Hmm.
That hasn't changed, but the how is and will, and maybe it'll never be the same.
Right.
And that to me is both exciting and scary, right? It's both those things.
Right.
That's the posture I feel right now, which is both anxious a little bit and very excited
Hmm.
about the
Hmm.
potential of that. But that's not, unless you give your safe self the space to actually work through that. It's really difficult for teams to do. Um,
Right.
if you're not used to that, if you're not used to thinking that way, that's a really new paradigm.
It is. Yeah. And so you have to force yourself there.
Yep.
You have to force yourself there. So if you are leading a team out there, I highly recommend that, I don't know, you put at least half of your week, if you can, into that strategic mindset of what's
Yeah.
next. We need to look down the road. Um, bring your leadership team in, bring whomever, or bring some colleagues, some friends that are strategic that maybe work at other companies, and start a group. But bring them into the conversation and maybe hold you even accountable to getting in that strategic mindset. Because if you live too long and trying to put out the fires,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, I think it's going to be easy to miss the boat. And, for me, I don't want to miss that boat.
Yeah. Well, and I don't want to, I'm trying really hard to stop my language, because I was saying this from saying, I wish this whole pandemic would wrap up so we could get back to the way things, get back to work, get
Yeah.
back to the way things used to
Yeah.
be.
And there's some good things that I definitely want to go back to.
No question.
Yeah.
Yes, 100%.
Yeah.
That being said, I'm trying to say is, I hope this thing does clear up for the health and safety of everyone in the world, no question,
Mm,
and for our economy.
yeah.
But also, on the other side of it, I'm really excited to see what the new Crema will look like,
Hmm.
and not treating it like the nostalgia of going back to the way things were, because it'll
Yeah.
never be that way again.
Right.
And I don't know how much it'll change. I don't know if it'll be a 180, or if it will be just a small my expectation, it won't be a massive change. We'll still use design, technology, and culture to help people thrive. But I think if more people could, instead of thinking, oh, I just wish we could get back to the way things were,
Hmm.
think maybe this was good for us, and this is going to force us to be the next version of ourselves. That's what I'm just trying to. I'm having to remind myself daily, multiple times a day, of that
Hmm.
mantra right now.
Yeah. The thing.
That's difficult.
Yeah. There's going to be some good staples that, of course, we keep, but there are going to be things that change.
Yeah,
And I think it'll be easier on your people and easier on yourself if you can start to think and talk openly about those changes now before
yeah,
you go back to the office.
yeah.
Otherwise,
And
it'll seem like a 180.
that's hard, right? Because it comes back to that might have been a water cooler conversation, or something that just started to kind of organically spread through the company, and now it it doesn't naturally happen that well. So you have to be more intentional about creating points in time to do that. So whether
Yep.
it's we do an all team stand up on Wednesdays. So we take that time to just remind people and cheerlead them during that time of,
Hmm.
here's how we're thinking, and we want you to think the same way.
Right.
Same thing with our lab Fridays. It's like, yes, we're still doing lab Fridays so we can be innovative and creative and keep learning and pushing ourselves to constantly improve, but it's going to look different than it used to. And we're going to have to do it
Hmm.
in a different way. And our outcomes might be a little bit different. But we still believe in you guys, and we still have to move this forward. Right.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's good. That's good. What else? What else is on your plate right now as you're thinking about maybe even the coming weeks? What's kind of,
Hmm.
if you're thinking maybe quadrant two
Yeah.
is not no longer 3 months out or 6 months out, but it's maybe 2 weeks out. What's
Yeah.
in your Q2, your quadrant 2 for the next 2 weeks?
Yeah. That's interesting. You say that because we were talking about that last week of like, we may have to change our time horizon. I'm like,
Yeah.
it's like, rather than, well, let's start planning and being strategic for the next 2 years. Well, who knows what that looks like? I don't know what the next 2 weeks are going to look
Yeah.
like. So,
Yeah.
I think we're going to try to change our time horizon of what does the next 6 months look like? What does it look like to successfully navigate our way through the rest of 2020?
Yep.
So using that as a time horizon, I think key things for us is to make sure that as a leadership team, we have our leadership team meeting. Not necessarily more. We might, extending the time of the meeting, but really just diving in, because I think there's going to be important topics that come up. So this is for us, but also for anyone that's listening, is that make time for just those questions.
Mm-hmm.
I can only imagine that someone on your team is going to be like, where are we going now that this has happened? What's next? I think it's okay to live there for a little bit. I
Yeah,
don't think you have
totally.
to have the right answers. And so making more time. So before all of this, we were looking at what does it look like to scale Crema in the next 3 to 5 years, which is still important to us. We still want that.
Yeah,
But
goals a little different now.
but the start of that may have been pushed, which
Right.
is fine. So I think a lot of learning and reading too. We've been going through a book that we really enjoy called Scaling Up by the Growth Institute, and just a lot of learnings in there about what does it take to scale up as an organization at our size to go to the next size, whether that's doubling, tripling, whatever your goals are. So I think getting back to that book, I haven't picked it up in a month because of all that's going on. So I'm looking at it right now. So I think making time this week and next week to dive back in and get a steady rhythm of really assessing where we're at and are we ready for scale and what does that look like in 2020. We were on a project before this happened as far as assessing our key processes that make us run really well and drive the business forward.
Mm-hmm.
And again, we put that on pause, but we're going to pick that back up again and really do a deep dive and audit into those processes of what do they look like and how are they changing now in real time.
Yep.
And are those changes good and can they be permanent? And that includes maybe cutting some things out, adding some technology in to make us more efficient. So I'm looking forward to that. I think those will be some good projects to keep us moving forward. But past that, I mean, there's a lot of being smart and being wise with finances right now.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, again, I think every company would say we had goals. Now the goal is just to manage our cash like there's no tomorrow.
Yeah.
And so I think just keeping a keen eye on that and investing in the right things. I think continually to invest wisely in professional development for our team, encouraging them to continue to learn.
We're still investing pretty heavily in our marketing and growth team.
Yep.
Because we want to have that message keep going out.
I think that's an area we want to be putting our dollars into, is getting that message out. So yeah, for me, again, all around scale. What does it look like to scale now in this world? How do we adjust our timeline? And then the goals that we set this year. Do we need to revisit? Do we need to reprioritize on different goals? So those are kind of what's in my bucket right now.
Yeah.
What about you?
Yeah, mine are similar.
And then looking at some of our new services, coaching services specifically.
Yeah. So that's a lot of mine, is the new service development, which then of course has to correlate with positioning and getting those out to people, which is, again, it's entrepreneurial, it's fun, it's exciting for me. But I have to figure out how to help the team land those, and then also make sure that we're just, giving a correct level of humble confidence around how we're moving forward, or the pace that we're moving forward with them. And, things just don't happen overnight. And so understanding that even though we want to launch them like 3 days ago, having empathy for the time that it takes to get these things up and out. I'm still really excited to finish hashing out this postures, discipline, structures, and really figuring out a way to allow companies to work themselves through taking inventory on those things, and giving them some exercises to help them to get unstuck and move through into the next best versions of themselves. So working with some other team members right now, working with you on what might be activities that we've years, maybe not coming up with new ones, but like collecting the best activities that we've done over the years to put together, I hate the word curriculum, but kind of a curriculum
Yeah.
to help people move through what that might look like. So I'm really excited for that. And that's going to take a lot of headspace, a lot of work, a lot of headspace that doesn't feel, like you said, it's not a fire to put out. It's something that is more future thinking. And then of course, asking the big question is like, how does that lead back to bringing people into the core services of what Crema does, which is really design and software development. And so just trying to make sure that we're keeping those things all in the right tension and all, all in the right,
Yeah.
pace. I
Yeah.
think pace is a big theme for
Pace.
me right now.
Yep.
Is it feels like everything should be going 150 miles per hour, and something should, but other things need to be paced at the, okay, cool, right? That's just keep moving that forward. We get taking a step forward.
Yep.
I've been riding a bike a little bit more on my trainer, down in the basement, because we're not supposed to ride outside to keep everybody safe. And I remind myself often, it's just about keep moving the pedals, right? Even if you have to gear down and you put your wattage starts going way down, it doesn't mind.
Yep.
It's just sometimes you got to keep pedaling. And what you find is legs get warmed up. Then it's like, okay, cool. Now I can up the tension. I can up the amount of power output that I can have. And I think then of course you exert a lot of effort and you go, okay, I need to rest, I need to but you don't stop moving.
Right.
The rest is not a complete halt. It's I just need to bring my muscles down for a second. Okay, now let's push again. So it's just creating those rhythms again, creating those disciplines that can get me into how do we move things forward at the right pace, right rhythms. So
yeah, it'll be interesting to see what rhythms individuals put in place now that stay.
Yeah. Yes. Yes.
Whatever that may look like, new routines for your morning, for your lunchtime, whatever that may look like.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm curious to see how that might change different just expectations.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely. Well, I think this has just been good. I think this is, again, we wanted to.
It was a good Monday catch up.
Yeah, it's Monday. You just got to do a little update.
you do.
Just recenter ourselves. We're still in this. We're still going to do this. I think so.
Yeah.
I think another day sounds good.
Keep on keeping on. Yeah.
Well, Dan, it's always good to catch up with you. I know we're going to catch up on 1,000 other things, but it's
lots of times
in the public eye, if you will.
Right.
And if you guys have any questions, those that are listening in, both on our live stream, we are not yet watching people in our live streams. We're just trying to learn how to get them working. At a certain point, we probably will be doing some live stream. This is part of our innovation work soon too. We're going to start doing live stream that includes actually interacting with people a bit more. So we're learning how to do that. Again, I'm not a 14-year-old gamer, so I'm not used to interacting with people on a live stream while I'm doing something, as well as a video game streaming person. But a couple things to make note of. If you're listening to this live right now, it is the 13th. Yeah, April 13th. There's a few things coming up that I'd love to put on your radar and on calendar. Tomorrow we have the first of our collaborating after COVID-19. I think there might be some new names to that, webinars. So we're going to do a series of webinars that try to introduce you to our coaches, introduce you to new ways of thinking about working. And then coming out of those webinars, if you do attend one of the webinars, register to attend. So check out our website or check out our social media. If you do attend one of those webinars, then you have the opportunity to actually schedule a free 30-minute one-on-one session with one of our coaches to maybe talk about some of the challenges that you're going through right now and explore ways to address that, either with process, with tools, or with culture. So I know the team's working really hard to pull that together, so I wanted to give that a little plug. And then the last thing is that, like I mentioned, we're going to have the craft team start to put more material out. So one of the things that's coming up soon, I think it's I won't put a date on it. It's next week sometime, because things are moving quickly. We're going to be doing a live update for the Flutter versus React debate. So if you're not familiar with those two, Flutter is Google's cross-platform development for mobile apps, and React Native is Facebook's basically open source development platform for doing cross-platform development on web mobile as well. We mostly do React Native work. I've been doing that for a long time, but we've been dabbling in Flutter, and it has a pretty popular audience right now because it's new and it's exciting. But we wanted to give you updates on what we're finding. So we're going to do that live. We're going to bring back together some people that have been on our YouTube channel before talking about that subject live next week. So stay tuned for that. So you do definitely follow our social channels. We got a lot going on. Really trying to make sure you guys understand that we're really passionate about the crafts of design, technology, and culture. And I want to help you guys to do that better. And let's be honest, if we can help, we're here to do it. That's why Crema exists. I think that's it. I think that's all I have for today's podcast. Dan, you got anything else?
I don't. It's been good. And I hope that, I think it's going to take a lot of courage to continue to move forward. And so I guess my hope and prayer for anyone that's listening out there is just take that, just lean into it.
Yeah.
And it's really hard and it can be kind of scary, but ask yourself, what are the 3 things I can do tomorrow to move my company, my team forward?
That's good.
Just think of, what are those top 3 things each day, a little bit forward, small step.
Yep. Keep those pedals moving.
Mm-hmm.
Well, thank you guys, as always, for listening to our podcast. If you haven't already, make sure you subscribe on any of the podcast platforms you listen to. If you're watching us live, thank you for watching us live. We'll continue to do these off and on live, but subscribe to our YouTube channel. This is going out right now on the Crema channel, but we also have an Option 5 podcast channel, and that's where all of the final videos actually get uploaded and posted. So subscribe to both of those, the Option 5 podcast channel and the Crema channel. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. That's usually where we post. And then if you are subscribed, you can subscribe on iTunes, Spotify, Quickcast, other podcasting platforms, all the podcasting, we're everywhere. And if you would, though, pretty please, go and give us a little bit of a rating on iTunes. A 5-star rating would be huge because that gets us exposure to iTunes promoting us a little bit more. It's kind of like asking you to smash the like button on YouTube, which you should right now on this video. And basically just give us some feedback, give us some love so that we can spread the word about what we're trying to do here at Crema and the work that we're trying to bring to the world. So I think that's it. I think that's all I have. Yeah, that's all I have. We'll see you guys. We'll see you guys next time.
See ya.
Bye, Dan.
Bye.
My name is Aubrey Illig, and I'm a product designer at Crema. My role requires me to execute the holistic design process a product needs to go through in order to become a meaningful experience. Some days I'm working on information architecture and user interface design, and others I'll be testing my products as a UX designer or enhancing the user's experience through interaction design. Depending on which designer hat I'm wearing, I could spend my days working with our clients, collaborating with our designers and strategists, planning out the project's needs with the product managers, or working with our developers to turn my designs into a reality. This is why I love working at Crema. Each product and each day provides a new opportunity to be challenged and collaborate with our one-of-a-kind team in the pursuit of solving real problems for real people. Option 5 is a podcast by Crema, a digital project agency that creates web and mobile apps for disruptive companies and industry leaders. We believe that design, technology, and culture can help create a world where individuals and companies thrive. Learn more at crema.us.